Our guest today keeps the network running behind one of the world's most influential biomedical research institutes. David Biron is head of networks at the Francis Crick Institute, home to thousands of scientists tackling the toughest challenges in health and disease. He's leading a 5-year transformation that's modernising how research connects, computes and collaborates. And he's doing it with a little help from a few familiar faces at Block. David, welcome to FutureNow and thanks very much for being here today.
Thank you. It's nice to see you.
You're head of networks at the Francis Crick Institute. It's one of the biggest biomedical research institutes in the whole of Europe. For maybe the audience who don't know a lot about the organisation, could you maybe paint a picture of what makes it so unique?
Yes, definitely. So sort of our mission is discovery without boundaries. We want to understand more about how living things work to help improve treatment, diagnosis and prevention of human disease and generate economic opportunities in the UK. Sort of some fun facts about the building. We've got over 1,500 rooms, twice as many as Buckingham Palace. And the Francis Crick Institute is a unique partnership between the Medical Research Council, University College London, Imperial College London, King's College London, the Wellcome Trust and Cancer Research UK.
Cool. It must be a really exciting place to work with all the work that you're doing there. How did your journey start then?
So I started at the Crick in 2021 as network projects lead. So I joined the Crick from University College London. So previously at University College London, I was leading a network refresh with the wireless, which was sort of over 6,000 access points. And that was a really interesting project, but I got to the point where I was looking at other opportunities and joined the Crick. And that was leading there. It's a 5-year network replacement program. So effectively, we are ripping and replacing the entire network over that 5-year period.
So David, how did you get into networking then?
But I used to work for Canterbury Cathedral, which is this most amazing building in Canterbury for worship. And I worked in their IT department, and I was a general IT guy working in Microsoft. And there's a government scheme called Train to Gain, which was something that was recommended by my boss Dave at the time. I should look into it, and we're lucky that the local college they were a Cisco certified academy, and I started doing my CCNA, and I fell into it and really, really enjoyed it. And previously I didn't, because I was good at a lot of things, I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do or what I want to specialise in, but the networking through the Cisco Networking Academy sort of got me where I needed to be, and after that had a first for learning more about networking, and it's got me where I am today.
That's amazing. So David, let's hear a bit more around the transformation project. So can you maybe talk to us about where you started and ultimately where you're trying to finish on this project?
So we had sort of a 5-year roadmap, and that actually started with the firewalls. So that was the first piece of equipment to be replaced. And then we moved on to probably one of the biggest pieces of the puzzle, which is the Wi-Fi. So to get to every corner of the building, that large sort of 93,000 square meters of building, to actually change the Wi-Fi, that's not a small task. That is where you've got equipment spread out across the building, and to actually get someone to that area. And we have areas that are sort of it's high containment as well, so you can't just go in there. You have to get special permission. So it's been a long process, but that's worked. We've got there. We've got our new Wi-Fi in there, and then we moved on to our other probably biggest piece of work, which is changing the edge switches. So the building's split into sort of four quadrants. And we've got sort of over 50 switch hub rooms that all need the equipment replacing. So we're sort of logistically sort of arranging the downtime, as I mentioned before, sort of, and actually ripping and replacing. And they're not small devices; they're chassis. So it's like a forklift job. You've got to lift that in and put the new stuff in, and you have to be confident that it will work. Because once you forklifted it out, it's going to be a lot of work to put it back in again if something doesn't work.
And I imagine with the amount of research that's going on there, downtime is just, it can't happen. You've got to have solutions around that. How
Yes.
maybe did you expand on that throughout the project?
Yeah, so this is the biggest challenge, is actually dealing with downtime, and I think the ideal is always to reduce bandwidth to services than completely take them down.
Yeah.
But one of the key things, sort of taking down services, is actually the communication out to people, because at least if people understand why it's happening and what's happening, they're more perceptive to you making changes than suddenly someone turns up one day with a ladder and they're like, well, who's this person? What are they doing?
So the work that happens at Francis Crick Institute is of such high value and high importance. How critical is the uptime of that network infrastructure? And I guess, can you maybe expand on the real world impact that has, if there were to be any downtime?
There's sort of various impacts, but effectively, if you stopped that experiment from happening, they could lose time. If they actually lost that data for that experiment to happen, that could be catastrophic.
Yeah.
It could be months worth of work that actually gets lost.
So the design of the network infrastructure, how does that support scalability for the massive high performance compute environment that you have?
So I think the key elements in the design that we're really happy to see is actually we've got the bandwidth that's needed. The existing network was struggling in regards to the actual interfaces to plug the devices in. We were running at 40 gig. We needed 100 minimum for the new stuff coming in, and we were always at we effectively, what we were having to do with the infrastructure is we were having to bolt on new Cisco stuff to support the old, or to support the new equipment going in. And actually, it's worked out really well for us, because we've been able to use existing investment with the new network that Block have put in. So actually, it's not wasted money, it's not wasted effort. We've actually been able to bring that new stuff in. And particularly for high performance computing, you've got to get the data to the end user as fast as possible, and they've got to get the data to the platform as fast as possible. So yeah, that actual connectivity and bandwidth is key, and that's been built into the solution. And we're happy now that there isn't sort of a single point of failure or a sort of a drawback in that overall design.
Yeah. And I guess when you look at kind of what's running across that infrastructure, I guess that world-class research, it really relies on world-class data and keeping that protected as well. How do you find sort of balancing the sort of openness but also the security in such high-stakes environments?
So I think the main thing is, and the main goal is, not to block the science from happening. So, and I think the key thing with a lot of the work that we do is the early engagement, particularly with new projects. If you've got new science projects happening, you need to know beforehand, because if you don't know about it beforehand and then it comes in really late, you've got to suddenly come up with a solution. So one of the key things we've got in place within the Crick is a network access control solution that actually knows what's going on to the network, and we can control what joins the network as part of the solution.
And just looking at the building, it's such an iconic building, the Francis Crick, and it's adopted quite a lot of smart technology already across the organisation. How are you finding managing that as a network team, and how have you had to adapt there?
So we were lucky that we were sort of a smart building from day one, which has its benefits, but then the criticality of the network is higher, because the last thing you want to happen is someone holds their pass up to the door and you can't get in. So yeah, everything is controlled, sort of the lighting, access control, security. It is all part of that smart building. So it is a challenge, and that's why I always looked for an always on network, because yeah, you can't afford that downtime.
Yeah, it just adds so much more criticality to getting that network right, and the transformation project that you've been on. So you've been leading this 5-year transformation project. And also, just going back to your point around how many sort of organisations and stakeholders there must be involved in the Francis Crick, how do you kind of like keep the teams and the scientists confident in what you're doing while you evolve this network?
So I think that goes back to the communication, because yeah, you need to communicate out to people actually what the benefits are, and what it's going to mean to them, because often as technical people, and we're all guilty of it, is sort of saying all the technical advantages, but people don't care about that. They just want it to work. So that's the most important thing is to describe it in their terminology. So we're a trusted pair of hands to actually rip and replace some of this stuff, because you are disconnecting and disrupting things. And I think sometimes it's having the key stakeholders, because if you speak to the right stakeholders, you can actually get some key bits of information to say, actually, if you did that at 3 a.m., you could do it without any problem. And that's a really key thing, is that stakeholder engagement.
Yeah, I can imagine. And you must have quite a strong team behind you as well there within your network team and the wider infrastructure team to be able to manage such change.
Yeah. So a relatively small team. So it's 7 people, including myself. But we really gel as a team, sort of lots of different personalities, lots of different skills. But yeah, we sort of come together and we're really strong in lots of areas. So we often have people ask us questions in the office, and we can generally answer those and support. The most important thing is to support the users in whatever they need to do.
Yeah. So just going back to the topic around trying to keep scientists and the teams across the organisation happy, how do you balance the challenges posed by shadow IT, but also providing that sort of lab autonomy across the organisation?
So I think sort of shadow IT is a problem throughout sort of institutions. Sort of, I came from university world, and that was really common. It's no different at the Crick, because people want to do their experiment, get it set up as quick as possible, and sometimes things get they buy whatever they need and then expect it to work, and that's always a challenge. And the way we've tried to work against that is just we've tried to enable them to do what they need to do, but the early engagement. So a lot of our procurement teams are like asking those questions from day one, and not saying to people, well, actually, you need to engage us first, because you could end up with any sort of piece of equipment, whether it's like a consumer or enterprise grade device. And there are mechanisms, like you can have something that could be an internal only device, and there's mechanisms within the network to enable that to happen. You've got some stuff you just want it to talk to the internet and nothing else. So we've got a way of dealing with that within the network, but the most important thing is the early engagement, because you don't want to be trying to reverse engineer something that somebody's bought to get it to work.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think when we were speaking a while ago, you said that the future of the data center is going to look very different. What do you think is coming next, and kind of how are you preparing for that within your team?
So I think the challenge is always in regards to the data center. It's sort of having enough power in London if you want to run your own AI, having enough cooling. I think probably I've come from Cisco Live a couple of weeks ago. Everything is moving to direct liquid cooling. So the infrastructure from your traditional air-cooled data center is very, very different. So if people want to do that, it is a challenge. And us as a building, we don't have a car park you can wheel a container in and actually run a data center from there. So we're looking at various opportunities, but particularly in the world of networking, there's a technology called Ultra Ethernet, which is something that's coming into play, and the AI workloads can't cope with your standard Ethernet offering. You have to have something different. So that's something that as a team we're sort of learning about, and that's something, one of the key takeaways at Cisco Live was looking into that technology.
Yeah. And in terms of the innovation that's going on there, how do you balance that innovation versus risk when you're working at such high stakes?
I think you never want to be the first person to do it, but you don't want to be the last either. So I think institutes and universities always watch each other on what they're doing in the world. So there's announcements from some of the people we partner with stuff that they're doing. So it's really interesting about to hear about what they're doing and their experiences.
Right. So it must be very helpful in terms of learning about those insights. And in terms of your transformation project then, so what are the next steps now? You've gone through the transformation. Are you looking at anything around more automation and observability?
So the most important thing was not to disrupt services. So some of it was a like-for-like replacement, because then that gives us the baseline to build on. So what we're hoping to do now is, where we completed the replacement program, is actually enjoying what we bought and
Yeah.
building on that. So there's lots of bits where we're going to need to cause disruption, but actually it's for the greater good overall. To make sure the devices are connected correctly and we're providing the service that people need.
So obviously across the organisation, there's a lot of use of AI across research and the technology that's coming in there. How are you and your team looking at AI at the moment around whether that's automation or reduction of workloads?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question because within the team, I think we're looking to reduce sort of workload, like mundane tasks. So as you mentioned, automation is something we're looking into. One of the critical things which people find really tricky is sort of if you have a technical support issue, and Cisco always say, "Oh, get a technical support file." If you can have an AI bot that goes out and gets all the information beforehand and just pass it on to Cisco, then it saves my team hours of work just trying to get all the information that you actually need to diagnose and solve a problem.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, and what's next for you then? What's your ambitions and where do you want to take this next?
So I think some of the key things that we've got is sort of the network access control I said before was a key thing. So it's augmenting that with extra data from other systems, and allowing us, if we needed to block something from the network, you do it in one place or one place only, and then it propagates out to all of those other systems. Because we do have a multi-vendor network, so it's not just we obviously have Cisco and a data center provided by Block, but we've got an HPE network for the rest of that, and it's actually bringing all of that stuff together. And my brief was always to get the best fit of technology for the Crick, and that has built us into a multi-vendor network, which has been a good thing. We're confident that we've got all the right solutions and technology in place. But of course, all vendors will tell you, well, if you buy all of our stuff and only our stuff, it'll work really, really well together. So it's always weighing that against the multi-vendor versus single vendor.
Yeah, it makes sense. And in terms of the Crick itself, is there? I can imagine things are evolving and changing all the time there in terms of what they're asking of you. Is there anything coming down the line in terms of what they're looking to do as an organisation? Any big changes that are going to have an impact on you and your team?
So I think the way they built the building was it can move like even walls can move.
Yeah.
So we have a constant stream of changes, finding more space within the building to support the science. One of the big projects that we did over the last sort of 18 months was they actually built on the roof. So you ended up with sort of cranes actually building on the roof space, which is deemed Skylab. So that was sort of codenamed Skylab. But that was really interesting because people thought, well, you can't find any more space in the building, and actually they did it.
Yeah.
And we had to provide a network to support that.
Wow. Enough to keep you busy then, I imagine.
Yes.
And if you look at, maybe if we talk about your time at Crick, what's been your biggest achievement to date?
So I think the biggest achievement to date for me personally was obviously becoming head of networks, but particularly for the team, sort of completing this 5-year replacement program, and sort of all the effort that's gone into it. It's not a small task. So thanks to all the team for their efforts in getting everything over the line. Really proud of what we've achieved.
Yeah, I bet. Thank you. Yeah, and the partnership with Block, how's that worked, and kind of what are the key ingredients to making that successful?
Yeah, so I see Block sort of as a key partner. They've got some really good skills in-house, working with Cisco to sort of deliver the project for us, and sort of safe pair of hands, like an extension to our team, because we've got a lot of knowledge on site within the team. But we don't have all the latest and greatest technologies and the knowledge of those. So as Block have been a really key partner to help us deliver that.
I know the team at Block have really enjoyed working with you on this project, and we're really keen to continue that partnership as well. It's really exciting to see what you've got coming down the line next as well. And thank you for joining us today. I'm sure the audience as well find this really fascinating. Thank you.
Thank you. It's great to be here.